it's week 3 of the 90-day challenge, and I'm out here at Wolf Creek, surrounded by snow that's up to my waist if I were crazy enough to jump into it. And it's awesome. I love it. It always reminds me of the fact that our sins were staining us, and yet God's blood washed our sins away as white as snow. If you're caught up in your reading, we have read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Some of you guys already may be through Joshua and into Judges. You guys are plowing through this. And the cool thing is that I was thinking about Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy are often the hardest part to read through when you're reading through the Bible. They just seem like all these names and all these bloody sacrifices and all of this stuff. But if you've gotten through it, you've probably cleared the hardest part of reading through the Bible. So keep going. It's going to get even cooler from here on out. But you know, it's so cool to see how God is in control of all this and all that He's doing. He's brought His people out of Egypt. He's taken them through the wilderness. They didn't trust Him. They went through a bunch of periods where God provided for them, and then they didn't trust Him again. And all of this stuff, and now they're finally to the promised land. In the book of Joshua, they begin to conquer the promised land, this land flowing with milk and honey. And of course, that doesn't mean they're literally stepping in a flood of flowing milk and honey, but that means it's a land full of everything that they need and want. And so that is just so God's heart for us. And you know, I couldn't stop thinking, surrounded by all this snow, the fact that God said that although our sins stained us, that He will wash them as white as snow. And you know, I really thought about that in the book of Leviticus, as it talks about all these bloody, gory sacrifices. When you do one thing, you have to do this sacrifice and all of that. And you know, it can be kind of hard to read through all of that. But all of that points toward Jesus, who eventually we'll read is the Lamb who was slain to take away the sins of the world. And so all of that blood just reminds us that God doesn't tolerate sin. So keep going, keep reading. We're in about Joshua or Judges, and it's going to be an awesome read, so keep going.
For the sake of their soul, for the sake of their soul, for the sake of their soul.